Welcome once again to our weekly coach show here on Talk 101.3, where all of our programs are brought to you by L&D Appliance. I'm your host, Gary Ownbey. Typically this time we have Coach Damon Floyd here as our head coach, but Damon's off campus as we record the show today, and being joined by a good friend and one of our longtime coaches, our quarterbacks coach, teacher here at Bradley, Mr. Brett Standifer. Brett, welcome to the program today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm glad to be on here.
Well, we had a big win Friday night at Farragut, a place that we just really have trouble winning at. It was a region win on the road against a good team, and we persevered. It's a rough, rugged game. We had some mistakes, some breakdowns both ways, offensive and defensive, I guess. But as Damon will always say, hey, a win is a win. On the road in the region, a place like that, hey, we'll take that.
Oh yeah, yes, sir. You know, you take a region win anytime that you can get it, especially at Farragut. That's been the thorn in our side for a long time. I think every program has that team, and definitely Farragut has been ours. So.
Yeah, you're right there. They've had our number for a while. Let's go back now. Talk about you in your earlier days. You did not start at Bradley Central High School. You started at another school. We talked about that, and you came here. And what got you to Bradley, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Chattanooga. I was at Soddy Daisy High School, and I was a Soddy Daisy kid all the way through. It's not like we hopped around a whole lot. I ended up here at Christmas of my junior year so that I could go through spring practice, similar to what Caleb did. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those things. I'd always gone against Bradley, and it was always a tough opponent for me. That was actually the only team in our region at the time that I never beat. And just facing up against Bradley and seeing how the program runs, and I'd gone against Bryce Copeland. Yeah. I liked how they used him, and my dad and I are talking, and Bradley just seemed like the spot for us. So when we moved up here, it's been great ever since.
How long have you been on the coaching staff?
This is year 5 here at Bradley.
5.
Yep.
And you're the quarterbacks coach.
Yes, sir.
But before that, let's go back one more step. College. You went to school down in Alabama.
Yes, sir. I signed from Bradley, went to Stillman College, a Division II down in Tuscaloosa. Played there actually just 2 years because they cut athletics, all except basketball, after year 2. But I got to play 2 years down there, so it was cool. It was a good experience for me. Got to move off. So.
Okay, your responsibility. I know you're quarterbacks coach, but what does that include for your responsibilities? Just getting quarterbacks lined up with receivers, stuff like that. I guess you got to work close with receivers as a quarterbacks coach too, don't you?
Right. Yeah. We we do a lot of there's a lot of groups at practice that come together that our entire coaching staff gets to tag team on a bunch of different things. Okay. We trust each other with a bunch of different stuff, so we're not stepping on each other's toes. But yeah, I mean, primarily I'm going to get Caleb ready and have Tyler Cook ready as well, just for if that time ever presents itself. But yeah, at practice, Coach Hardin and I are really tag teaming receivers and quarterbacks a lot. I go down every now and again with Coach Payne, and I'm with the offensive line. Coach DeJuan Massengill with the running backs. We tag team a lot, but that's primarily quarterback coach, but I'm working a lot with our entire offense, as our whole staff is.
Do you, when you study film and look at, like this week we'll be playing Hardin Valley, do you look at their defense and say, okay, guys, here's what we think we could be successful at? I mean, I know we have our game plan. This is what we want to do whenever we're on offense. But do you adjust your teaching skills to the players' teaching, to the quarterback's skill set? Or do you say, nope, this is the way we do quarterback at Bradley. We want you to do this, or do you adjust to, or is it both, or how do you do that?
So, there's a little bit of both, really. So Caleb is a super talented kid, big-time competitor. So for me, primarily, our offensive staff we all have checkpoints that we're looking at on Saturday before we meet on Sunday. Okay. And mine is typically going to be the coverages for the defense. So, that's mainly my thing. But with Todd Burkhardt, our offensive coordinator, we're usually on the phone on Saturday, or we come up here and go over things that we like, just overall as an offense. And as far as the quarterback side of it goes, I do have some of my non-negotiables, but for the most part, it's really keeping Caleb comfortable. We actually have started. It was after the Heritage game. We sat down and we showed Caleb the game plan, and it was kind of like, what do you like, what do you not like? So I do have my non-negotiables of, if we're going to run this play, this is how we're going to do it. But I will say he is majorly involved in what the plan is and what we're doing. At the end of the day, if the kids are not comfortable and they're not comfortable with what you're going to do, they don't like the play really. I mean, I know there are times that Burkhart will call it in and it's like, man, we just got to do this. But he's sitting in the film room with us and he's going over what he does and does not like. So he has a lot of freedom.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing, and Damon's mentioned this before, sometimes our best play is a breakdown when Caleb has to take off, because he is such a quick, gifted, athletic kind of guy that he can make something out of nothing when the line breaks down or they rush or blitz or whatever. And it's nice to have someone like that. But the question leading up to, though, is as a quarterback's coach, I know the offensive linemen, they get graded each week, a number grade. I've seen that posted somewhere in the dressing room or whatever. Do you sit down at the quarterback and say, okay, here's a plus mark for you or a negative mark for you, or how do you evaluate them? I mean, don't tell us all your secrets, but
no, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily give Caleb a number grade for the game, but I do. Every Saturday and Sunday, I throw a playlist together, and with him being the quarterback, he's one of the only ones that's not really practicing both sides of the ball a lot. I know he gets thrown in there some, but that's because he's a smart kid and he's super athletic. But for the most part, for film, he's with me, so we have longer than everyone else.
Oh, okay.
So I'll throw a playlist together of good and bad. Our entire offensive staff does that with their group. So it'll be 5 or 6 good plays from the game Friday, 5 or 6 bad, and we try to move on. That's kind of a positive with Caleb. At times, I try to slow him down and be like, hey, man, we got to go over this. But for the most part, he's ready to go on.
Well, I was talking to some folks the other day, big Bradley fans. I stopped by our quarterback, said, I went back to like Bryce Copeland, then you come in after Bryce, I guess. Then, here's Cole Copeland, or Dylan, we had the Copeland brothers, the Standifer brothers. We've had Javon Burke. We've had Aiden McCleary. Now we got Caleb. I mean, we have been truly blessed with quarterbacks for the last 10, 12 years that no other school really had anything compared to that in my mind, And is it the quarterbacks coming in that are that good with such skill set, or do you coach them up to make them that good?
I'll take a little bit of credit for it.
I'm going to give you credit for it if I can.
Yeah, I take a little bit of credit for Caleb because, he was a wing T guy up until this year. So I take a little bit of credit on him knowing some of it. But, I mean, really, for the most part, it's the program itself. And the guys that we have had here have been really, really talented.
Yes, they have.
And super, super competitive. That's you mentioned Cole and Bryce and my brother Dylan. That was kind of one of our things is like, man, we'll be up here playing pickup basketball, and you can look over and those three, there's going to be some trash talk, some pushing and shoving. It's our quarterbacks that have been here want to win at everything. I think that's been the main thing, though. Super, super talented, competitive, and the program itself has just bred successful quarterbacks.
And another thing about every one of those guys I named, I think, are multi-sport athletes here, whether it be football, basketball, baseball. And I think, as an outsider looking in, I think that helps overall their mentality and their competitiveness when you have them like that. I know some that focus on just one sport, and that's okay too, but I like the multi-sport athlete, and I don't know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's it definitely, competing more often than not, it's never a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on of guys that have been here that have been successful in other things, just the guys that we named. Bryce played college basketball. Dylan's currently playing college baseball. Cole he signed and played college football, easily could have played college basketball.
Yep.
Javon Burke could have been a track guy. He was going to play basketball here, but ended up getting to graduate early.
Yep.
Aiden McCleary playing college baseball. I definitely think we've benefited from that, not just football here at Bradley, but I think our quarterbacks have been super successful all over. And, for the most part, these guys are making good grades and leaders in the classroom as well. So we've had a well-rounded group, I'd say.
And those guys, you look and they're going to do well in life because based on what we've seen them play there. We're going to take a quick break right now. We come back after this mission, LB Appliance, and talk about the upcoming game with Hardin Valley here on Talk 101.3. Welcome back to our weekly coach show. This week, filling in for Damon and Floyd is Brett Standifer, our quarterbacks coach here. We've been talking about what happened last week and leading up to that. We had some good plays last week that won the game for us, 28-20 over Farragut. But let's talk about Hardin Valley, though. We've not played them a lot. They only started like in 2008, and we've only played them 4 times because we're not in our region at most of that time. We've got a 3-1 lead in the series, but I've emphasized this to some of our kids. You know, here we are unbeaten, ranked #1 in the state this week. I remember in 2016, we were unbeaten. We went up there, high and mighty, we thought. We come home with our tail between our legs because they beat us 14-13. And I think the mental mindset, when you play a game like this, they've lost 4 in a row. We know that. They've won 3 and have lost 4 now. But you look at who they played. They have played a terribly tough schedule in those last 4 games. We're going to be another tough O for them. But when you look at Hardin Valley, what do you see in the way of what would they try to do defensively to stop our offense, which is hard to do?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think honestly, just with what our makeup is offensively, I think for the most part, you're going to get more of the same every week. I think that they're probably going to spread out with us just because Boo and Jarius and those guys out on the edge, if we get it in their hand,
yeah,
you know, it's tough to bring them down and, you know, prevent first downs, much less touchdowns. Or other way. But yeah, like Friday night, Jarius was uncovered. His touchdown catch was actually a run play.
Really?
And Caleb just saw him uncovered and popped up and threw it. He makes 3 guys miss. But yeah, I think you're going to get more of the same with that. You know, we may get blitzed a little bit more because just over the last couple weeks we've struggled with that a little bit. But yeah, I think really week in and week out against our offense, you're going to get more of the same, maybe a little wrinkle here and there, but I would assume that's what it is. You got to put a guy over Boo every time. So.
And speaking of Boo, he made probably the catch of the year that I've seen. You know, I was on the radio about to say this is an overthrown pass, incomplete. You know, but I keep looking, and here he is, left-handed, reaching up in full stride and cradling that ball in for a touchdown. And that was the one that gave us the final edge of 28-20. Before that, we had a young guy named Ben Collins. I never seen him catch a pass in his life. I'm going to talk to Ben later, but. We're in the end, or not in the end zone. We're down there inside the 5-yard line. It's tough going there. Tell us about the play call there. I mean, how did that come about? We had not seen that play all year.
Right. So I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that was Ben's first offensive snap of the season. You know, you have a list of probably 5 or 6 plays that you rip every single day that it's like, we really like this and we're going to keep it in our pocket. And that happened to be one of them. You know, it's kind of going back to what I was saying. When we spread the field, guys have to go with us. I mean, our region is very, very well coached, and that's one thing that you know going in every week. And that was just one of those. It was actually Coach Floyd made that call out of the timeout. You know, Coach Floyd does a very good job of letting Coach Burkhart do his thing. But that one, it was like, hey, what do you think about it? And right then we're all looking back and it's like, yeah, let's go with it. Sure enough, it worked out.
I bet you Farragut's thinking, who in the world's this Collins kid? He's not listed as a receiver. I look at my roster as a defensive lineman, you know. Man, what a great time for him to come through there and a great call by Damon there. When you look at their film, what are they going to be trying to do on the offense? They run that wing tee. Right?
Yep, so they've switched over to the wing tee. And, you know, it kind of goes back to, like I was saying, with our offense. I think to our defense, it's going to be more of the same. If I'm going against us, I'm doing pretty much what we've seen all year. I'm trying to run the ball, keep the offense off the field just because of just preventing explosive plays. And it's the same thing, though. You know, it doesn't have anything really to do with our offense. At times, it's just you look at our secondary, and it's like, man, with Marcus and Boo and Tito, Mason, Demarius, all those guys that are floating back there, you better be pretty calculated when you put it in the air.
Yeah.
Because anytime you miss that connection, if it ends up in one of those guys' hands, you're not only looking at a turnover, you're looking at potentially a touchdown the other way.
Yeah, you really are. And Brett, going back and looking at research like I was doing over the weekend to prepare for our broadcast here on Thursday night, folks, that is a Thursday game, keep that in mind. I see they've only passed 41 times in 7 games. I mean, that's 7 games, 41 passes, and it hit me. Oh, yeah. Damon told me they were a wing tee. So that's crazy there. But you prepare differently. We've seen the wing tee against McMinn County, so it's not going to be anything new to us, but it's just one of those offenses that not a lot of folks run, and it can give you problems unless you're prepared for that. So we'll see how that works out with them. And so you look at us, we're just the opposite. We're flying high on every play. And last week, not the most recent game, Farragut, but in the Heritage game, I looked at, we had 5 touchdowns. 4 of those were scored on 4 plays or less on the drive, and that is a quick strike. Puts them back on their heels, and their defense is right back out there. Their offense back out there again, and it's just it's a great offense to have. And we got, I think, Capes on for 1,110 yards, something like that, over 1,000 yards, and I forget how many touchdowns he has, but he's got about 18. I believe he's got 18 touchdowns passing. So it's tough. I'd hate to defend us. That's why I've told folks before. I hate to try to figure out how to stop us with all the weapons we have. We got to keep that up. This is a region.
For sure.
It's homecoming on Thursday night. And nothing needs to be said, and the reason we're doing it is both Bradley County and Knox schools start fall break Monday, the 9th.
Right.
And a mutual agreement between the 2 schools said, okay, let's play it Thursday while the kids are still around, because a lot of people be heading out of town come Friday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Need to get them back in here. How does the coaching staff? You talked about this a little bit. When do you start preparing game planning for the upcoming game?
Oh, it's immediately after. Every one of us have our assignments for breaking down the film from the Friday night before, but that's typically Saturday that's done. I know offensively, and I've heard defense mention it. I'm not sitting in on the defensive meetings, but I know it's Saturday morning. Just off of hearing our defensive coaches talk about it, I know it's immediately too. So it's one of those things, we preach it to our kids, like, a win's a win, let's celebrate a win, but it's move on, job's not finished. It's all the cliches that you say.
Right.
That's how it is. It's almost like you can't, in the region that we play in, you can't enjoy the wins too much, because it's immediately you turn right back around and have another one. So it's Saturday. We're all on the phone all day and on our computers. So asking, do you like this? Do you like that? What do you think? So it's immediate. It's a 7-day-a-week job.
Well, at an elite program at 6'8", man, it's got to be. You got to be dedicated. And it's not just during the football season. We know that. Kids work out with weights all the time. I know the coaches are looking at things and, hey, here's who we got back and what can we do to improve the team and all that stuff.
Right.
I always ask Damon usually, what are the keys to success? And he'll usually say, no turnovers, no penalties at crucial times, and just execute what we do and just win the rep. Don't win the game or the half or the quarter, win the rep. If you do that and do what you want to do, you're probably going to be successful.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm not in on the defensive plan nearly to the level that I'm with the offense, but I would think defensively, it's like any time that you're facing a wing T opponent, you've got to make them drive the field and understand what they're doing. They're going to run they're probably going to run the play clock down pretty far,
right.
And you can't have silly penalties. And you've got to get off the field when you can, because that clock's running and your chances are limited. Offensively, I think it's just the other side of that. You've got to understand that your possessions are limited, and it's pretty much what it's been all year for us. If we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, offensively, it should work out. Majority of the time that we're getting stopped, it's a very crucial error on our part. But I think that's what it is. Defensively, get off the field when you can, and offensively, take advantage of your limited possessions.
Well, it's going to be a fun game. It's always fun for homecoming. It's a big game. It's a home game for us again. Next week, we'll be on the road to a non-region game at Red Bank, and we're just 3 games away after this week with at Red Bank, at Cleveland, and home with Beard. And those last 2 and this one this week are the crucial games. We control our own fate. There's no doubt about it. We control our own fate. If we win out, we're going to be the champs of the region.
Yes, sir. That's been the positive, taking care of business to this point, is we are in that position in the driver's seat, but we are preaching to the kids, and I think all of our kids understand as well as us that it can come and go.
Yeah.
It could fall apart quickly with 3 region games left.
Yeah.
That's our job, to push on this momentum and keep riding it out.
Well, I can't wait till Thursday night. Sorry to say Friday night again. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you for sitting in today for Coach Damon Floyd. I'm sure he's out enjoying whatever he's doing, but we'll tee it up and go off here Thursday night. And we're going to wrap it up here for Brett on Talk 101.3. Well, all our games tonight in the hotel from right here for our coach show brought to you by OU Advice. I'd like to thank Mr. Wentz Royer and his folks back here in BCHS where they produce all of our shows. Until next time, we'll say so long for now. God bless. Go Bears.